You actually bring this country together. There are big questions that all of us are asking. I want to get you the answers. I'm Tony DeCopel. Join me on the CBS Evening News.
We're just on the fringes of going into space, and we have literally the whole universe ahead of us.
The United States is ready to try and place its first Earth satellite into orbit. And there is a sudden, tremendous burst of flame.
Together, let us explore the stars.
Astronaut Alan B. Shepard, the hopes of America riding with him.
3, 2, 1, ignition. Oh, that view is tremendous.
Man is but on the threshold of this great new adventure.
Apollo 8, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear. Make you realize just what you have back there on Earth.
What a moment. Man on the way to the moon.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop. The Eagle has landed. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
There it is, a U.S. flag on the surface of the moon.
We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and in hope for all mankind.
And then it comes to us here, 2026. Good evening from Kennedy Space Center, Florida. I'm Tony DeCopel. You see the countdown to launch there in just a short time. Artemis II is set to lift off from Launch Pad 39B right behind me, and with it a new era of exploration, the first human moon mission in 53 years, the first since the final Apollo mission back in 1972. And if all goes well, the 4 astronauts on board will travel deeper into space than any humans before them, more than 250,000 miles from us here on Earth, around the moon and back again. And if all goes well on this mission, NASA's first crewed Artemis flight, the plan is to return to the moon's surface, build a base there, and then go on to Mars. Let's talk about the crew. First selected for this mission back in 2023, and right now sitting atop that rocket behind us. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen. There's a lot of history here already. Cook will be the first woman on a lunar mission, Glover the first African-American, and Jeremy Hansen the first Canadian. And a lot has happened today already as well. Earlier, the astronauts suited up. Let's hope they like the color orange. They'll be wearing it for the next 10 days. And then a parting goodbye. This was moving as they saw their family exiting the crew building there, and then began the 20-minute drive to the launch pad. Once they strapped in to the Orion spacecraft, near the very top of the rocket, the 500-pound hatch door closed. And now here's the plan from this moment. It's a 10-day journey overall. After liftoff, the spacecraft is expected to orbit Earth twice, check all of its systems, ensure safety, and then head on toward the moon. That trip alone is a 4-day trip. There's a lunar flyby around the far side of the moon. And from that vantage point, something pretty amazing. The crew will be able to see the Earth and moon from Orion's windows. And then the return to Earth for a splashdown off the coast of San Diego. That's how they've drawn up the play anyway, but this is rocket science after all. There are risks. They are real. They are well known. The spacecraft, the capsule there, is named Orion, and it has never been used before by humans in flight. Senior national correspondent Mark Strassman has been covering this for months, and he is with me here at Kennedy Space Center, just above me, in fact, on the roof, probably with a better view than we have. Mark, good evening. What are the goals?
Good evening, Tony. I'm glad you used the word rocket science because, you know, we all tend to focus on the splashy moments with space travel, the launch, the astronauts floating in microgravity, and even the splashdown. Well, this is the serious business of engineering and hardware and making sure it all works. Before NASA tries to land astronauts on the moon, they're going to take a 500,000-mile road trip to make sure all the equipment works. As you mentioned, this capsule has never flown with people in space before. They got to make sure that the systems work. They have to make sure, in particular, that the life support systems work. If the CO2 scrubbers don't work, you have toxic fumes inside a sealed cabin. That won't work. And assuming that every system checks the right box, at 19 hours after launch, a NASA management team will gather and say, okay, are we good to go to the moon? If they're good to go to the moon, once they commit, they're committed. There's no turning around. It would take several days to get back, even if they had a major problem. So the first day in low Earth and then high Earth orbit is critical, Tony, to make sure that all these systems work. Then I asked Jared Isaacman, the NASA administrator, okay, so why is all of this important? And here's what he said.
Well, I think it's important because we're fulfilling a promise that began more than 35 years ago for America's return to the moon as a stepping stone for all the things that we are going to do farther out into our solar system, like someday American astronauts planting the stars and stripes on Mars. So you're doing it for the scientific potential, the economic potential, as a technological proving ground to do the things on the moon that you're going to need on Mars. And how about inspiring the next generation? I mean, how many kids after this mission are going to dress up as astronauts for Halloween and want to grow up and contribute to this great adventure?
I think he's right about that.
And assuming that this test flight goes well, there's another test flight, Artemis II, that is planned. That's a low Earth orbit test flight. And then ultimately, NASA hopes to return to the moon, put boots kicking lunar dust. That would be Artemis IV, Tony, scheduled now for sometime early in 2028.
That's a longer countdown than we have right now. Let's focus on these 17 minutes before us and what may happen. Mark, thank you very much. We've got a great team here to explain everything Artemis. CBS News space contributor Bill Harwood is with us. Former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson is with us. She retired from NASA in 2018 and now works for Axiom. Peggy has accumulated a total of 695 days, who's counting, in space, more than any other American or woman on the planet. Also with us here is Space Force Colonel and former NASA astronaut Mike Hopkins. We're going to get to both of you in a moment. I really want to draw on your expertise. But, Bill, I want to start with you. You got an office downstairs here. It's full of memorabilia. You know this subject as well as anyone. What's happening right now?
Lots and lots and lots. This countdown is carefully orchestrated. It's a sequential step. They have to go through every step and get it exactly right before they can continue. It really gets back to how complex the vehicle is and making absolutely sure all the systems are safe and ready to go. We know they're working one problem right now.
Tell us about it.
They've got a battery issue up in the launch abort system tower. This is a little rocket at the top that could carry the crew capsule away in the event of a catastrophic failure early in flight, like in the first 3 minutes. Batteries both have to check out when they get down to T-minus 6 minutes or the countdown will stop. Now, they may be able to resolve it at that point. They may already have it resolved. We just hadn't heard an update yet. That's really the only glitch of any significance we've heard about in this countdown, which is really quite amazing given the history of the vehicle and the leaks and things like that we've dealt with in the past.
Yeah, and the weather still seems pretty good. Peggy, fingers crossed on the weather. Peggy, I want to go to you now because you've been to space on, I believe, 3 different types of rockets. So we have some inkling of what is going through the minds of these astronauts as they're strapped in there. As I understand it, they're sitting there, their work is ahead of them, and right now a lot of other people are working to make it happen. So what's their mindset? What's going through their heads?
Well, I'm sure they're excited. You know, I think most people accept the risks of the space flight well before you get to launch day. So all you're thinking about, at least for me, is, you know, what's coming, and, you know, hoping that all the countdown process is going smoothly. And they get information from the ground team as they're working issues and get heads ups. So they're aware of things that are going on. But for the most part, right now, they're just chilling, waiting for the big moment. And it is an incredible ride. And the fact that this actually has even more thrust than I had on the shuttle, I think would make it quite exciting.
I could tell you still want to be out there, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Mike, I want to go with you on this one. You've traveled to space before with Victor Glover, the pilot on this mission, so you know his personality, what he's like. How are they passing the time? They've been in those chairs for multiple hours now.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of wiggling around because things start to go to sleep, and it can get a little bit uncomfortable. But I'm sure they're telling stories, they're sharing jokes, light moments to kind of pass the time. But also, I would say right now, though, it's starting to really feel real for them. We were talking about all of the steps that have to happen to get to this point. Well, a lot of those are behind them now, and so all of a sudden you're starting to realize, okay, there's not many left that we have to get through before we actually launch. And so the focus is starting to really dial in at this point.
Yeah. And Mike, you've also been a test pilot by profession. This capsule has never been flown by humans in space before, right? It is a test flight.
This is a test professional pilot, flight test engineer. It's a dream, right? To get to be the first person to fly a vehicle, whether it's an aircraft or a spacecraft like this, is something that just doesn't happen that often. And so for all of them to be a part of this, and particularly for Reed and Victor, who they're test professionals by trade, to get to do this is pretty special.
And Tony, if I could just interrupt very briefly, I'm told that the battery issue has been resolved.
Oh, that's good news.
So we should be okay from this point unless something else crops up, right?
As we see 13 minutes coming down on the clock. Peggy, you mentioned the power and the thrust. There's all these numbers you can throw at people, but it's really hard to comprehend. You've been there. You've felt it. When those engines, those rockets ignite and you feel the lift, what is that feeling?
Well, this is actually, in some ways, very similar. So we have the same engines that we had on the shuttle itself. They ignite actually 6 seconds before the launch so that they can get up to the full 100%. And then at the 0, then the bolts, the hold-down bolts on the solid rocket boosters blow, and they ignite. And those are shape charges. So it's basically a charge that starts burning, and it is shaped for when it goes through the max Q to slow down, and then burns back up to maximum, and which I just think is really amazing, that they're actually physically shaped charges. You're not stopping it once it ignites.
Here's a dumb civilian question. When I'm at Six Flags in the summer on a roller coaster and I know the roller coaster's about to start, I yell, I holler. Are they going to make any sounds, or are they just dead silent professionals in there?
I imagine they're going to be making a few
probably going to be some sounds, but there's also going to be some calls that they're expected to make. So they've got parameters they need to be monitoring. They're listening to what the ground's saying, and so they're going to be dialed in and reporting what they need to report.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
And we do a lot of sims, so they'll have all of that down cold. Yeah. Okay. But they'll be enjoying the moment. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Bill, you're enjoying the moment, aren't you, as well?
I am. I really look at it two different ways. I haven't ridden a rocket before, so the machines still scare me. After 41 years of covering the program and watching 130 shuttle flights and watching this one back in 2022, it's an enormous amount of energy being released. If you think about it, in the first 9 seconds of this flight, weighs 5.7 million pounds on the pad loaded with fuel. It's going to go 0 to 120 miles an hour straight up in about 9 seconds. I mean, that's unimaginable. It looks slow coming off the pad, but it is hauling. And as she said, when those boosters light, boom, you're going somewhere, man. It's scary if you're not really familiar with it. It's a lot of energy.
And the solid rocket boosters are much rougher. There's a lot of vibration associated with the SRBs. Once the SRBs drop off, then it'll be a smoother ride because it's liquid fueled, much like the Soyuz or the Dragon. So it's smoother after the SRBs drop off.
People have been coming into the area for days now, getting ready for this launch. Part of what continues to fuel not only the funding, but the excitement and the interest in NASA is so many young people, so many kids. They see it, they want to be astronauts. I want to go to Rob Marciano, CBS News meteorologist, not for a weather report, but for a crowd report. He's at Space View Park with thousands of people who have gathered there for the launch. Rob, what's the mood like?
I tell you, it's been a myriad of emotions, Tony, because we had rain showers come in. People were questioning the weather report. The weather report got a little bit more improved. Then we had the mechanical delays, and that people got sad. Now we're back on track. So, it's been all over the place. But I can tell you this: it's one of we're all rooting for the same thing here. So it's very communal. It's very joyful. We're hoping to get even more joyful as we go through. And there's people from all over the country. Here's just one of them. All right, this is Matt and Jack Winanski, who came from Atlanta, Georgia last night. What time did you get here this morning?
About 7:30 this morning.
So one of the few that got here that early, but now we have completely filled in. Yeah. Not one, but two kids. We've got Jack here, future commander of maybe Artemis. What are you most excited, Jack, about this launch?
My most exciting thing is I will see the rocket launch into space because I'm so obsessed with space. So I'll see Orion launch from ground to sky, so it'll be totally exciting.
I love that you're obsessed with it. I love your spacesuit. What do you have for a T-shirt underneath that spacesuit? Can you show the folks here? Talk about a kid who's obsessed with space. We've got the entire solar system here on. That's Pin's new. I didn't see that earlier this afternoon.
It's actually a Orion.
There it is, Artemis II. And your favorite planet is again?
Mars.
Mars. Oh, maybe you're going to go to Mars when you get older. What do you think about that?
Nah, I'm not going to Mars.
Too far away?
Yeah, I would have to take a 100-pound rocket to get there.
All right, well, we'll work on that. Listen, you got to rest up for the next flight, Commander Jack. There we go. We got future astronauts all over this place, people from all around the country, Tony, and we're fired up. We are ready. We're almost 10 minutes away now, and it's been a long wait, and we're ready to go for sure. Back to you.
All right, Rob, that's great stuff. But Bill, as Rob was talking there, we came into that 10-minute window where if everything was on schedule, 6:24 was the earliest when a launch could happen. But instead of continuing in to that timing, we have a hold here. Do you know what happened?
Yeah, well, first of all, this hold is normal. This is absolutely standard procedure. When they get down to this point, they stop, make sure everything's in perfect shape before they pick up the count and go. So this part's normal. They are working a problem with an S-band communication system. They lost telemetry briefly from some systems on the rocket, so they're just making sure that system is healthy. They said they would extend this hold past the normal amount of time, so it implies we're not going at 6:24, but it might just be a few minutes after. We have to wait and see.
Okay. When you see a hold like that, what are your thoughts as astronauts, Peggy?
Well, on my first launch attempt, we got to it was an L-9 minute hold. And we were 9 minutes into it, and they called it for weather, a thunderstorm within 25 miles. And so it happens. It's part of the process. And you have to do what's right, what's safe, what the flight rules dictate.
It's amazing to me because it seems like you wake up ready and then you stay ready, but at the same time you're on that knife's edge between ready and expecting, because you can't really expect. You can't assume, certainly not. I see you nodding your head, Mike.
Right. Yeah, I mean, up until you actually lift off, you could scrub. I think in the past they had some shuttle launches that scrubbed, I mean, seconds before liftoff, and so you always have to be ready for that moment. And if it happens, you reset. They'll go back to the crew quarters. They'll get a new timeline. They'll figure out what the issue was, and then you go at it again.
Yeah,
it's an amazing moment. We're going to keep monitoring it. I want to expand the conversation here by bringing in Derek Pitts, the chief astronomer and planetarium director at the Franklin Institute, a wonderful place in Philadelphia. Derek, thank you very much for joining us. We just heard from a wonderful kid there who wasn't going to go to Mars but did want to be an astronaut a few moments ago. This is part of what this mission is so important, right? It inspires the next generation, but that's just the start of why it matters so much. Take us through it.
Yeah, you're right, Tony. That's what this really is all about. NASA is really pushing hard on inspiring the next generation of scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, astronauts, and skilled laborers that want to become part of this great space adventure. NASA realizes that going forward into the future, it's going to need all of those skill bases, and it's going to need everybody to participate. So this is a great opportunity for young people that have not had the opportunity to be part of a crewed mission into deeper space. This is a great opportunity for them to see what this is all about and become excited. In fact, you could say that NASA really looks at this as a way to reignite the excitement that we felt, not only in America, but all across the world for human space exploration.
Derek, thank you very much for that. I want to bring our viewers' attention to the launch director, Charlie Blackwell-Thompson, who is doing something very important. It's known as the Go, No-Go poll, input to verify the launch. If we have it, let's listen in.
Attention on the net. This is the launch director performing the final poll for launch, verifying no constraints and go for launch. EGF, EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis MMT Chair.
MMTs go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good to hear your voice, Charlie. PLT.
Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families.
MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2. This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity. All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go.
And there you have it.
NTD Launch
the Artemis
Director.
Go.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
It's a go,
Yes, sir.
no-go poll there. Go for family, for teammates, for all of humanity, the daring spirit of the American people and our allies. I saw you guys having a reaction to that. It's a beautiful thing.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh.
What's going through your mind right now, Peggy?
For me, I was inspired by Apollo 11 and the astronauts walking on the moon. And so this whole thing, I think, is a reignition of that inspiration to our youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, old man?
I agree. I agree. I was in high school when Apollo 11 took off. I remember watching it with a friend and being just stunned by the whole thing. And I've followed the space program ever since. And I've longed for a moment when to see us would leave the planet and leave low Earth orbit to head out into the solar system. So this new architecture to go back and build a moon base, perhaps, very exciting to me, for sure.
One of the most interesting things I've learned in preparing for this is, in fact, this was Christina Koch described the moon as a memory plate. It's a place where without an atmosphere, without wind, without rain, everything that's ever happened there is still there imprinted on the surface. It's just a marvelous concept to think about. And on that note, actually, I want to bring in Harrison Schmitt, who is the last living person from the Apollo 17 mission to walk on the moon. That was 1972. His footprints are there. Harrison, thank you very much for joining us. You were one of the few people left who can answer this question. What was it like to walk on the moon?
Hey, it's fantastic. Just being there and even being close as this crew will be is a fantastic experience. Honor, privilege, everything. And extraordinarily important in this regard because we're now finally on a pace to get back to the moon, to understand its resources, to deal with its geopolitical implications. And something that is often missed, we're training in a new generation of flight controllers, launch controllers, engineers are all learning again how to operate psychologically as well as engineering-wise in the vicinity of the moon. That's extraordinarily important to have that base of experience expand again.
You know, Harrison, one of the quirky facts of the human mind is it's capable of putting a marvelous mission to the moon together and then equally capable of losing interest in a matter of years. The drop-off from 1969, that hot summer, man walks on the moon, to 1972, when you did, what was it like to see public interest fall, and what's it been like to see it come back around again?
Well, the main thing to remember is that media interest fell off. And the public requires the media to be interested in things for them to be interested in things. Otherwise, they do not get the information ordinarily in any kind of an easy way. So it's part of the obligation, I think, of the legacy and other media in order to maintain this interest, to look more deeply into what it takes to accomplish these magnificent missions. And that's really important to the American public as well.
You know, Harrison, you took a very famous photo when you were up there, the blue marble photo. Astronauts talk about the overview effect, being able to see Earth from space. You helped all of us see Earth from space, and you didn't even have an iPhone in your pocket to do it.
No, I didn't. I'll tell you, that picture of the Earth is one of many I took on the way to the moon. I think as a geologist, I had a slightly different perspective about seeing the Earth. Yeah, that's where it ought to be. and so I was busy trying to forecast weather patterns and things like that, as well as just getting one heck of a kick out of the whole thing.
Harrison, thank you very much. I want to bring in our two astronauts here. We've got Peggy and Mike Hopkins. Peggy Whitson, you're chuckling at what Harrison said right there. What, the geologist has a unique perspective on space? Tell me about it.
Well, I think everybody brings their own perspective about space. And, you know, that perspective, I think, you know, is what I think some people call the overview effect. To me, it's perspective.
Hold on, Peggy. I'm putting my hand down to interrupt you because as you were talking, the clock started ticking again, and we have a new launch time, Bill, 6:35?
It's going to count down 10 minutes at 6:35. If there are no holes here, there are a few points where they could hold, but right now they're counting 6:35.
Okay, 6:35. Carry on, Peggy. You were making a point there.
Yeah, so for me, that perspective of seeing Earth from above, even 250 miles above, is dramatic. You know, all of humanity, except for a handful of people that are hanging out with you, are down there, and as far as we know. And so that perspective, and then, you know, seeing this planet that, especially from their perspective, I would have think, you know, out in the blackness of space, makes you think about, this is spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're all living in the same life support system here.
We all need it.
Have to take care of this and take care of our crew, and all of that is so important. And I think that perspective is really important for us to convey. And I think that's why people were so, you know, impressed with the Earthrise pictures from the Apollo days. And I think it's important to realize this is our spaceship here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We are hurtling through space right now as we speak, right here on Earth itself. You see the rocket and people are impressed. You can be impressed by a rocket, but you don't fall in love with it the way you fall in love with the astronauts themselves. So, Mike, I want to turn to you and talk a little bit about the 4 people who are in that capsule right now.
Yeah.
Reed Wiseman, someone you know well. Talk about him. What kind of man is he? What kind of astronaut? What kind of teammate?
Yeah. Reed is an incredible man, incredible teammate, incredible person. You know, we were selected back in 2009, and one of the things you realize about Reed is he will do everything for you, right?
And the arm is retracting there as you speak.
That's good news.
That's good news, right?
Good step.
Okay.
That's a good step. Yeah. And one of the things I would also say about Reed, and you can say this about all of this crew, composure under pressure, right? The ability when the chips are down, when things are, you know, when there are issues or things like that, he steps up his game, right? And he does it extremely well. I think that comes with a lot of his experience in the military, but also with all of his training. And so he's just an incredible astronaut, incredible father, and so very excited for him to have this mission.
And Peggy, you had a hand in selecting not 1, not 2, not 3, but the entire crew, making their dreams come true as astronauts. You were in a position to recognize their talent. What did you see in them? What stands out as we see the timer down below 7 minutes?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, one of the outstanding characteristics of this crew is how well they work as a team. You know, they have the soft skills to make a really strong team, you know, to interact well, to build something stronger than any individual. And that's what I'm impressed with by this group.
What is the difference maker, the thing that makes you say this person is an astronaut and this other person is a talented human being but just not the right fit?
You know, we end up getting thousands of applicants for each crew member that we're going to select. And so by the time we get honed down to the last group of people that we're talking to, it ends up being Do I want to fly with that person? Would they be fun to be on a crew with? Would they, be a good contributor to a crew? And would I pick them to be on my crew? And so that ends up being the bottom line at the very end.
Yeah, it's a very tight space. In the chair that you're sitting in right now, earlier today we had Rob Lightfoot, who used to be the NASA administrator, worked for NASA for 30 years, and then runs space for Lockheed Martin, which designed the capsule. I asked him why he couldn't make it bigger, but it's apparently just the size of 2 minivans up there for 10 days. So yeah, you better like each other.
Yes. Yeah.
And the food. What do you remember, Mike, about the food?
The food's pretty good, right? There's a lot of variety. From back in the Apollo days, I don't think they quite had the same variety that we have on board station now, and I think there's a lot of similarities between that food and what they're taking with them to the moon on this mission. And so one of the neat things about it as well, you can get kind of creative with your food. And so I noticed I was looking at their menu, and there's a lot of tortillas on board, and tortillas. People ask what your favorite food is, and for me, it was a tortilla because you can do a lot with it. You can take a sausage patty and some eggs, and you've got a breakfast burrito. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. It's 6:30 now on the East Coast, so if you were tuning in for the CBS Evening News, you tuned in at a really good time because we are under 5 minutes now, countdown to launch. Artemis II, the first manned mission to the moon in more than 50 years. Bill, as we get ever so close, what's going on right now?
Well, first of all, they just armed the launch abort system. They did that on time. That's the system that would carry them away in a catastrophic failure. They've armed the flight termination system. That's the whole rocket's entire self-destruct system that we were talking about earlier. It sounds unusual, but every rocket launched from the East Coast has a self-destruct system to protect surrounding communities in case of a major problem. The bottom line is, I'm just checking off things on the list here. Inside of 10 minutes, the terminal account's proceeding very smoothly. No signs of any problems at all at this point. It's all on schedule.
Bill, on that point, and we've all mentioned risk, we know everyone expects this to go well, but the reality of spaceflight is that it's a difficult and challenging endeavor. And on that point, the commander of Artemis II, Reed Wiseman, who we were just talking about, spoke to CBS News before the launch about the risks that he expected ahead of him. Take a listen.
Right now on planet Earth, there's 4 people in a position to go take this risk, and this is what we signed up for. I mean, it is really important for humanity to push further into our solar system, to go explore the unknown, to go discover things that we didn't think were possible, to have that human brain, human eye curiosity out there, figuring things out that we never even dreamed of. And myself, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy are in a position to go do that. We have to seize that moment.
Peggy, Mike, when I hear that, what I think about is the fact that it takes curiosity to want to go to space, but it also takes a not insignificant amount of courage to be the one on top of the rocket. You're nodding. You had it. I don't think I could do it. They're sitting next to a red abort switch. They could hit it any time. I mean, this is the moment that you dream of as an astronaut, right? This is what you trained for. This is what you prepared for.
Yeah.
Oof. How do you manage your heartbeat?
Well, spaceflight, to me, the best thing about it is you're part of something so much bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
It's all these peoples, the engineers, the designers, the operators in mission control. All these people have worked very hard to make this successful.
Yeah.
And so to me, being a part of that is just thrilling.
Yeah.
And the rocket ride is pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet as well.
Tony, we can see them now gimbling the main engine nozzles. That's a steering check to make sure the hydraulic systems are up and running, because once the solid boosters go away, moving those nozzles is what lets them steer the spacecraft to the targets they want in space. So always a critical milestone.
And in every shot, as we approach T-minus 2 minutes, if this were a football game, we'd be getting close to it. In all of these shots, or in many of them anyway, you can see what looks like steam coming off the engines or different chambers of the rocket. Anyone know what that is?
Yeah, it's oxygen vapor. The liquid oxygen constantly turns into a gas. It gets vented off the rocket, and you see it condensed in the air right outside. They vent hydrogen away too, but it burns, and it tends to burn invisibly in the daytime. But that's all absolutely normal.
This is such an incredible moment here with the blue sky behind us on the Florida coast. I want to go back upstairs to Mark Strassman, who's outdoors breathing it all in. Mark, final thoughts here as we get down to 1 minute?
I'm thinking about Apollo 8, which was a similar test flight that led to Apollo 11 and the moon landing. And you were talking about photographs that Harrison Schmitt took taking a picture. Well, Apollo 8 took that famous photo, Earthrise. Christina Cook told me she had that photo on her bedroom wall as a kid. Does that mean that photo was the reason she ended up in the capsule behind us right now? Probably didn't hurt. So what images will this crew bring back to inspire another generation of future astronauts?
Well, it really is. Mark, thank you at this point. It is the work of ages. It's the work of countless minds, countless decisions. And as we come down to inside 30 seconds, let's just listen to the launch of Artemis II.
And they just switched it.
NASA has ever launched. Sound suppression water is flowing.
15.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate beacon. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission elapsed time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon.
Have you the same.
Communication signal transfer confirmed as Integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis II mission. Integrity is 14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles per hour. Minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, ahead of solid rocket booster separation, expected at the 2-minute 9-second mark. We see throttle down. Confirmed separation. Main engines throttling up, guidance converged.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
So we're about to see the separation of...
Integrity, SM priming complete.
SM priming complete.
2 minutes 45 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission. Thrusters on Integrity and upper stage confirmed in a ready state, ahead of service module fairing separation. Minutes into the flight.
We are gathering ourselves here in the studio for what was very close to an on-time launch and a very impressive one. 3 miles away is the building where we're sitting. And the sound and then the wave of power, the disturbance just in the atmosphere hit us, and it felt like an earthquake. Everything was rattling, the windows, the ceilings. The power was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really something. You know, I missed that from the shuttle program because the shuttle was very similar. Same type boosters, same type engines, but this rocket has even more power. Definitely more of an earthquake, no question.
I guess I'm so used to scrubbed this, weather that, didn't work out, and this is the first one I've been live for, and I guess I'm a good luck charm because it went off pretty well.
Good job.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared.
You did a good job.
Wasn't prepared for that. Wow. It's amazing. So we've seen some technical milestones happen that are very encouraging. Bill, can you walk us through that?
Yeah, just a few moments ago, you could see some little sparkles coming away from the light of those engines. That was these panels on the service module just below the Orion capsule that are designed to come away in flight, and they did, right on schedule. No, this is just a drive to orbit now. It's these main engines are going to push this all the way to its initial orbit, and then the Orion and its upper stage will separate to fly on their own. But this is going like clockwork so far. On the telemetry, you can see this is an infrared camera view, but the telemetry you can see up in the right-hand corner shows you the velocity and the altitude right now. And as you can see, that velocity number really climbing. They are accelerating. Because think about it, Tony, as you consume propellant, you're losing weight, but the engines have the same thrust, so you go faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm. And the G-forces on the crew are building up during this time frame as well. And actually, the engines, because they're throttleable, will actually throttle down as they reach the altitude to orbit to reduce the G-forces on the crew. And they'll hold around for less than 5.
So they're now at 74 miles from Earth. Mm-hmm. So that is over the line. We can say they're in space now, or do you count it at 100 plus?
No, that 62 miles is
62,
is typically
right?
where
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
And Reed Weissman just said a minute ago they can see the moonrise. He said, I could see a beautiful moonrise out the window.
Amazing.
They're high enough to see it, even though it's below our horizon.
That's an amazing
cool.
detail. It's an amazing detail. You know, I remember in 1969 when CBS covered the moon launch. The day after, this was in a documentary recently, the Flat Earth Society of the UK reconsidered their position. I wonder if any minds have been turned towards science this morning, Bill. I thought about that as you talk about the moon over the horizon, but viewable from where they are. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, another milestone they've reached is what they call 3-engine press. In other words, even if one of their main engines failed at this point, they can still conduct a normal mission by just burning the other 3 engines a little longer. That's another major milestone.
And they are going to low Earth orbit.
Well, actually, it's an elliptical orbit.
It's an elliptical orbit.
It's low on one side, but it's a little bit high on the other. It's up around 1,300 miles. Is the apogee, they call it, the high point of the orbit. And once they get around to that point, they're going to fire their engines to raise the low point, to get it a little bit more. Right now, the low point's about 17 miles, so they're definitely going to fire an engine to raise that up here shortly.
Yeah. But now that they're up there, their time is now being tracked moment to moment. Mike, we were talking earlier, you say there's a phenomenon of chasing the red line, right? You've got your schedule mapped out with such precision, and you make sure moment to moment you're keeping up with it. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, particularly on a mission like this where it's such a short duration, right? We're only talking 10 days. And so, as you can imagine, the controllers, the planners, they want to take advantage of every moment of this mission. And so they're going to have their days lined up in 5-minute increments, 1-minute increments, and so they're going to be, as we say, chasing that red line, making sure they keep up with the tasks that they have. Because if you fall behind, then that means somebody's got to do some replanning and adjust the mission, and so you don't want to cause that.
And these first 2 orbits, so the first orbit's around 90 minutes, and the second orbit is about 24 hours. So those first 2 orbits, they have to verify that all the major systems are working properly, because then they can't do the translunar insertion to go to the moon if we have a bad ECLIS system, a life support system that's down and not going to work for our crew for that long. And so this first day, they're going to get much sleep because they're going to be checking out all the systems. The ground team's going to be busy scrambling to make sure and verify all the systems are working properly, because they have to make a decision in just over 24 hours, are we going to the moon or not?
Yeah. Let's listen in. I'm told there's something happening right now.
Integrity and nominal MECO, core stage separated.
All right.
We see the same onboard, Stan.
So core core, so main engine cutoff. So the big booster, the orange thing,
yes,
finished its work.
Yes.
And it's separated now.
Yeah.
And it's coming down to Earth.
Yes.
So then the
stage has separated, done its job. The Space Launch System upper stage, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, still attached to the Orion spacecraft.
Okay, so, next step now?
Just this section here is left.
Okay.
Everything below this is gone. The second stage is here and down to about here, right? No, this is great. This is all gone. They're getting ready to deploy their solar arrays in about 10 or 15 minutes maybe. The 4 solar arrays like we have on our model here will unfold, come out to start recharging the batteries on the Orion. And that's a major milestone. And then the next one is when they get to the high point of the orbit, they'll fire their thrusters on the capsule to raise that low point up to a safe altitude.
Yeah. This has been amazing for us here, but you know who I want to check back in with? Little astronaut Jack in Spaceview Park. we saw him at the top of the hour. I want to go back to Rob Marciano. What's it like? What's the reaction there in the crowd?
Well, Jack he's been running around in circles. I can't find him anymore. The commander, Jack, I think he's ready to go to Mars after seeing that. Hey, guys, I mean, it's just, we're just catching our breath like you guys are. I mean, we're about 7 or 8 miles away from where the launch pad is, but we still felt it. We still saw every bit of it. It was still magnificent. And some people are very relieved. There's some families here that came from all across the country, including Colorado Springs. And we met the Ross family earlier. All right. Mom brought the girls down, took them out of school. It's not spring break, and basically rolled the dice on this happening. Because you were going to fly back when? Tomorrow. So if this didn't happen tonight, this is going to be very disappointed. All right, Carlia, what'd you think your first rocket launch?
It was really cool.
Really? Look how smart. You're smiling so big, I can't believe it. How about you, Adelaide?
It was the coolest thing I've seen ever.
I think that about wraps it up. The coolest thing worth coming out of school for, right? Oh, yeah, I bet you your teachers will forgive you. Well, we're so glad it went off for you guys. So glad you came all the way from Colorado Springs, the heart of America, and have a safe trip home and get some rest, all right? You deserve it. They were here since 7 o'clock this morning, got in at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that kind of storyline is prevalent throughout this entire area. People coming in from all the country and joyful, relieved faces right now, and obviously the mission's not over, but this part of it, at least, we're celebrating. Tony?
Rob, I love it. Very cool. So for folks at home, one of the amazing things about this Artemis rocket is parts of it were manufactured, designed in every state in these United States, and there were international partners as well. And one of the interesting things after launch is control of what happens shifts from Cape Canaveral here and the launch director over to Houston, which is where we find Chris Van Cleve with what's happening at Mission Control. They are now running the show. Chris, what do you know over there?
Well, about 7 seconds after these engines lifted off, this rocket started moving past the tower there that became Mission Control's mission to control. And basically, they are now going through all of the checklists. Each of the positions in this major control room, command center, if you will, is going through their checklist, making sure everything is working as it should. You can see it looks very calm and collected in there. Tony, remarkable as we've been watching them in there as the rocket lifted off. Looked like business as usual in there, and that's continuing to be sort of the feel there as they go through their checklist, making sure the mission is on track. They've timed all of this down to the minute, making sure they're where they're supposed to be, that the rocket is on track, the trajectory is holding, and everything looks good. If there's a problem, they're going to try to solve it to stay on schedule.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. As I look at the screen here and I draw this to the attention of our astronauts, when you're sort of driving somewhere and you might see a novelty sign that says 2,000 miles to Key West or 4,000 miles to L.A., they've got one of those in the upper right-hand corner. It says 224 miles from Earth, 241,000 still to go to the moon.
Yeah.
That's a long way. My goodness.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really special things about this. I think we will... With this timing, I think they will break the record of being the farthest humans from planet Earth.
And if the mission is successful and the tests go as expected, not only will they break the record, but they will set the next astronaut crew up for another flight with another milestone and then even deeper travel.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. we've talked throughout today about how each mission stands on the shoulders of the last mission, and it is a marvel to think of how many individual decisions, how many individual ideas, thoughts, early mornings, late nights went into this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you think about, we were talking about the selection of the astronauts and the team and, who you want to be a team with, but it really goes beyond just the astronaut, right?
Wait.
As an astronaut, if you don't understand that you're a part of a much, much larger team, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that it takes to make these moments possible. It's incredible.
It really is incredible. Should we go to Mark Strassman up on the roof again? Mark, you were not even protected by the glass. What did it feel like?
Well, we're about 4 miles from pad 39B, and I tell you, for pure man-made spectacle, a SLS launch is hard to beat, right? I mean, you wait, you see the controlled explosion, you wait 4 or 5 seconds, and this wall of sound comes at you, and then the building starts to rattle. It is just unmistakable. The other thing that's sort of unmistakable to me about this mission is it has its own series of firsts. So it has the first black astronaut to go to the moon. It has the first woman to go to the moon, which I'm sure Peggy can relate to. And it also has the first non-American to go to the moon. And that is a significant departure from the Apollo era. People say, why are we going back, and is it worth going back? I think we're establishing why we're going back and why it's important. But it's also important to remember how much more inclusive this era is than Apollo ever was. And I'm sure that many people watching and this launch today, who see themselves in this capsule, would agree with that.
Yeah, Mark, absolutely right. I want to go to Derek Pitts now, chief astronomer and planetarium director at the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. Derek, I'm here watching it as a civilian who knows nothing about math, science, or engineering, and I just say, wow, you know a thing or two. What's your impression?
Well, I'm really a motorhead, Tony. I really like to get into the gory details of how all the machinery works and all that sort of stuff. I am always stunned at how these incredible pieces of equipment work so well. But there's one other thing I think that's really great about this, and that is, right now, tonight, it's a full moon all across the world. And so this is a really wonderful opportunity to put these two things together. I think we should all take someone outside with us tonight, go out and look up at the moon, and think about these astronauts on their way to the moon and what that means for all of us here on Earth.
Derek, that's a beautiful thought. I agree completely. And I thought this morning as we were coming into work, we were following the moon in. It was a full moon, and it was a bright, clear sky here in Florida. I want to go back to Harrison Schmitt, last person to walk on the moon. Harrison, when you look up, do you remember that moment? And when you look up now, are you thinking about it again?
Well, it's fantastic. In fact, I believe the SLS has more thrust than we had in the first stage of the Saturn V. And I'm sure all of you enjoyed the physical feeling of that launch. I certainly enjoyed the visual feeling of it again. But one of the main memories it brings back for me is that we went down to 30 seconds and went into a hold, because the launch computer and the rocket were not communicating correctly on a pressurization issue. And 2 hours and 40 minutes later, we launched. And I'll tell you, we were at night, a little bit after midnight, and being in the capsule was an experience that I'm sure our other astronauts also recall. It's just very special. And then to know that the mission is going well, as ours did, is even more special for everybody involved, including everyone on the ground. 400,000 people and their families were involved in Apollo. And all of them remember that as one of the high points of their lives.
Yeah, I think the whole nation could be proud of it. Taxpayers contributed to it, and the country was behind it. I want to bring in Bill Harwood because we're on the precipice of another important technical milestone here as we see the American flag snapping in the wind neatly there. This is quite a feat of engineering if all goes well. What happens next?
Next to these solar arrays are going to come out. The spacecraft right now has been operating on battery power. They have to get the solar arrays out or the mission can't continue, right? They'd have to come home. But anyway, they're very optimistic they will, in fact, come out. That's momentarily. Once they're charging those batteries up, everything, they'll begin processing ahead toward that rocket firing I was talking about to raise the low point. That's the next milestone after this. And so far, if you had asked me a year ago, we would be at this point right now. With the launch so close to being on time as we saw today, I would have never believed it. This has really been fun.
It has been an amazing thing. Peggy, we've got about a minute before we have to say goodbye for now. Your final thoughts?
I hope there is a lot of children out there that are dreaming about going to the moon and Mars.
yeah, we're going to need them for Mars next. What about you, Mike?
I just, Godspeed to Reed and Victor and Christina and Jeremy. They're taking the hopes and dreams of an entire planet with them right now.
Yeah. Mark, up to you on the roof. One more chance to say goodbye.
Stand by. I agree. My thoughts are really with the crew. I mean, what do we all want most of all? A safe return for them, and fingers crossed that everything goes just as perfectly as this launch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When we had Bill Lightfoot in earlier from Lockheed Martin, who designed the capsule that those 4 astronauts are in right now, the capsule that's keeping them safe, alive, will bring them to the moon, around it, and then back. I said, congratulations, thank you for all you've done. And he said, don't thank me yet. He said, we got to wait. We got now 10 days. But so far, so good as we look at a beautiful picture of that incredible rocket, Artemis II, history in the sky. We're going to keep track of Artemis's flight path, and you can find live feeds of the Artemis mission at any time on the CBS News YouTube channel. For now, our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and tonight with me on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Tony DeCopel at the Kennedy Space Center.
Chilling with the queen, her name is Gail King.
Hey!
CBS Morning.
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 CBS Mornings on CBS and where else?
Paramount Plus.
See you at 7.
CBS Mornings.
I want a mug. Yeah, good mug.
I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the Takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity and formality and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who is a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the Takeout. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
One thing is very clear.
CBS Mornings is clearly fun.
Watching Rocky with Rocky.
Morning, good vibes.
Gail came in singing for me today.
CBS Morning.
Weekdays at 7.
You there?
Did you surrender? Did Donald Trump run you out of town?
Marjorie Taylor Greene returns to 60 Minutes after falling out with President Trump.
Politics isn't a game. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? Politics is about policy. So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like health care? I'm a voracious consumer of information, and I'm impatient. I don't like to be spun.
Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now?
To be moderator of Face the Nation means bringing the most powerful stakeholders to the table to become better informed.
With her sister's murder long unsolved,
the months went by, the years went by, and then the decades went by.
Well, that's when I became a warrior.
A woman turns to TikTok pleading for leads.
Somebody knows something, and somebody knows who killed Molly Bish.
Can you help? 48 Hours, now streaming on CBS and Paramount+.
Apple turns 50. Hunger in America 2026. And a chat with Viola Davis, author, this Sunday morning.
We're just on the fringes of going into space, and we have literally the whole universe ahead of us.
The United States is ready to try and place its first Earth satellite into orbit. And there is a sudden, tremendous burst of flame.
Together, let us explore the stars.
Astronaut Alan B. Shepard, the hopes of America riding with him.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
Oh, that view is tremendous.
Man is but on the threshold of this great new adventure.
Apollo 8, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear. Make you realize just what you have back there on Earth.
What a moment. Man on the way to the moon.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop. The Eagle has landed.
What?
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
There it is, a U.S. flag on the surface of the moon.
We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and hope for all mankind.
I sure have chills. Welcome, everyone, to our special Artemis II edition of the Daily Report. I'm Lindsay Reiser, live from the CBS Broadcast Center in New York. Thank you for joining us. And at this moment, 4 astronauts are on a historic and unprecedented mission around the far side of the moon and back.
10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
This launch has been years in the making and essentially acts as a test flight to lay the groundwork for a future moon landing in 2028. Right now, the solar array wings are open, and once those are latched, they can start drawing solar power. These are your crew members: Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen. Jeremy is the lone Canadian on board. They will travel 252,000 miles from Earth, farther than any other humans in history. They will also be the first people ever to lay their eyes on certain areas of the far side of the moon. You're looking at NASA Mission Control in Houston. This launch was supposed to happen in early February, but it was delayed a few times for different reasons. Remember, this is hard stuff, including a hydrogen leak and problems with the pressurization system. But at this hour, everything is going smoothly. The astronauts will be on a 9-day journey before arriving back on Earth. Derek Pitts joins us now. He is the chief astronomer at the Franklin Institute. So, Derek, first of all, before we get into what is happening now, I saw Peggy Whitson on air with Tony getting emotional. I think she really encapsulated what I was feeling, what my producer Sandra was feeling. There's just something so emotional. I saw grown men on the ground in Florida wiping away tears. What is it about this that touches at our heartstrings and represents the best of humanity?
Well, I think what you're seeing is people's reaction to a really challenging endeavor being met. And we're also thinking about, as we see this, what it's like for these astronauts to be such intrepid explorers. And I think we're deeply appreciative to them for their willingness to do this. And I think at the same time, the one other thing we think is that it is so exciting. It's so exciting that it really does pull your emotions right up to the surface.
So what is happening now? What is the crew doing?
Well, right now, what the crew is doing is configuring that spacecraft, the Orion capsule, for the rest of the mission. You know, they took the ride up to space for about 8.5 minutes or so, and now what they've done is they've set out the solar panels. They're changing their power systems over to batteries to the solar panels that they have on board so that they can continue the rest of the mission. And they're really getting everything oriented for what's coming up next. You have to remember that they have a very long list of things that they have to do to accomplish over the next several hours. They're going to alter their orbit. They're going to change their orbit just slightly by circularizing it a little bit and increasing the orbital altitudes over the next day. And they're also going to take some time to sort of learn how to steer the Orion spacecraft by doing something they call proximity operations, in which what they do is they pretend to dock with the ICPS, which is the interface that was used to boost them up to their current altitude. So they're going to detach from that, turn around, and they'll sort of dance around it and perform different docking maneuvers. So this means that they're very, very busy sort of clearing out the interior of the capsule that they're in so that they have room to work, and then getting about configuring the spacecraft to do all those other things.
So they are now 29 minutes into mission elapsed time. Are they officially in the second orbit? Because it's my understanding the first orbit was very fast. The second orbit of the Earth is like 24 hours.
Yeah, so they first got up to Earth orbit, and they're like finishing off that first part of their, if you would call it, Earth orbit insertion, if you will, and now they're onto their first full orbit. You can think of it as the first full orbit. And so they'll continue in orbit around Earth for about a day as they take care of all these other things that they have to do about the proximity operations and jettisoning the ICPS portion of the spacecraft, and then getting themselves turned around and headed off toward the moon. So that's coming up tomorrow, but it's a busy day for them still today. In fact, their day today is about 17 hours long. Wow. But they've been preparing for this for years. So they are really ready and excited to get on with the business of heading out to the moon.
And they get 2 4-hour naps, right? All right, Derek Pitts, we appreciate you starting us off. We are going to be talking more in depth about the entirety of the mission, but we appreciate you helping us understand what is happening right now. Let's now go to CBS News correspondent Christian Benavides from Kennedy Space Center. And Christian, Tony, he was 3 miles away. Rob, he was 8 miles away. And even both of them described it like an earthquake. You're much closer. Are you even a mile away?
Lindsay, we're about 2 to 3 miles away from the launch pad. And I mean, look, I was here for the Artemis I mission as well. And that was a night launch. So we saw as night turned into day and we felt the ground shake. This was a little different because, daylight is out. But we felt the ground shake. And I mean, we could see it. It's sort of interesting because you see the launch, but it takes just a few moments before the sound wave gets to you and that you feel everything shaking. We're on the rooftop of the CBS building here at the Kennedy Space Center. So it was just quite a remarkable moment, and just to watch us enter this new chapter of space exploration and what it means for the generations to come is just quite incredible. Returning to the moon is something 50 years in the making. I mean, it's just remarkable to have been able to be here and just witness that. And for all of us, I mean, happening on America's 250th birthday, and it's just quite remarkable.
You've also been talking to people who have traveled to see this. What did they tell you?
Yeah, people who traveled from all over. I spoke to a woman who came from across the pond from the UK, and she said that she was excited to watch. People came from all over, from Utah. I'm sure that from every state in the nation, but we spoke to folks that came here, drove over, flew over at both the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center and also at different locations here at a T-shirt shop. People were just buying souvenirs. There's just this excitement that we're entering this new era of a space exploration. Because remember, this lunar flyby is just the beginning of what is going to come next on Artemis 4 when we actually put feet on the moon and eventually build this moon base that can serve as a launch pad to further space exploration, potentially in years to come, getting to Mars. I mean, it's just truly remarkable to watch this and to have it be a unifying moment among all Americans. It's just really remarkable.
Well said, Christian Benavides. Thank you so much. Let's now go to CBS News senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. I imagine there are thermoses full of Diet Coke, coffee, whatever have you. Explain to us their role in this.
Well, our newsroom is certainly busy here at the Johnson Space Center, but nothing like master control. Although, if you look into master control, it's going to look like the most orderly office you've ever seen. Everybody very calmly going through all of the checklists, making sure everything is working like it should and the mission is staying on track. And that can be little things like shortly after they got up into space, there looked like there was a clock mismatch between two of the timers that they need to sync up to make sure that engines fire on time. They did some quick troubleshooting, checked with the crew on board Orion. Everything worked out. They moved on to the next thing on the list. So, you know, throughout this mission and particularly right now, every position at the master control, each of the units, if you will, that go into this space launch, they are going through their checklist. They are making sure that everything is moving as they should and that they're staying on schedule. You know, they have timed this mission down almost to the minute. So they are watching the seconds tick by, making sure they stay on track so that they hit their benchmarks and this goes as smoothly as possible.
And you got a chance to see a simulation capsule for Orion. I've heard it described as like 2 minivans. What should we know about it?
Yeah, it's like 330 cubic feet. It is like being in 2 minivans. This is the training capsule, so it's an exact replica of what they're sitting in right now that they've been using to train in, and it's cozy. I'll tell you that. You got 4 people that are going to be very close friends or never speak again after this mission, I suspect, based on how close they'll be spending together. 2 of the chairs fold up and get out of the way, so there's a little bit more room. But the chairs that we're sitting in on the screen there, the mission commander and the pilot chairs, those are going to stay in place as they have duties throughout the launch. And right now, you know, they're pretty busy. They are monitoring everything that's going on, making sure the capsule is working right. And responding. And at some point here in the next day or so, if all goes to plan, they're going to get an opportunity to hand fly the Orion capsule, something that's never happened before. Remember, people have never been inside this capsule in space before, so everything that happens from here is a first.
I got to ask you, you're our transportation guy. Did you geek out?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, listen, it is always fun when you get to fly a simulator, and this is, you know, that simulator unlike any other because it's a spacecraft. It's the only spacecraft that anyone is flying right now, certainly today. So it was very cool to be in it. As also, I think, really good perspective to see just how small that capsule actually is. And you think about having to live and work in there, everything from how do you eat, how do you sleep, how do you use the bathroom, and how do you do that all with 4 people in, you know, what amounts to 2 minivans next to each other is pretty remarkable.
Thank you for the 21 packages, Chris Van Cleve. I think that's a new CBS record or possible network record. Thank you.
Lindsay, I hope you run them all. All 21.
All of them, all of them, all of them. All right, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Our special coverage of today's historic liftoff continues with a look at the next steps for Artemis and its crew. Coming up after the break, we'll dive into what's ahead for these 4 astronauts over the next few days, as well as NASA as a whole, as it prepares to eventually land a crew on the lunar surface. You're watching CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the Takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity and formality and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who is a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the Takeout. streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Go to the ends of the earth.
A great adventure together.
Come on in. And reach for the stars.
We'll hit the heights.
Bingo.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
A former Navy pilot, a record-breaking spacewalker, a single parent, the first woman, black man, and Canadian to fly around the moon. This is Artemis II. First up, Mission Commander Reed Wiseman, a naval aviator. This will be his second space flight. Wiseman has logged 165 days in orbit aboard the International Space Station and has completed 2 spacewalks. But his greatest reward and most rewarding challenge, being a single dad to 2 girls who he says would rather he stay home and hang out with them. Quite a novelty for girls, right? Up next is pilot Victor Glover. He is now the first person of color to fly on a lunar mission. This is also Glover's second space flight after previously spending 168 days in space on the first ever operational SpaceX Crew Dragon flight back in 2020. A husband and father to 4 daughters. When he told his kids about the mission, they all said, "Let's go." When mission specialist Christina Cook isn't going to space, she likes to surf, rock climb, and travel. She's the first woman to fly on a lunar mission, but she's already broken some space records. At 328 days, she holds the record for the longest single space flight by a woman. Cook also participated in the first all-female spacewalk. Pretty impressive for someone who once told her husband when they were dating that becoming an astronaut would never happen. She's bringing handwritten notes from friends and family with her on board. And finally, there's mission specialist 2, Jeremy Hansen, a rookie with the Canadian Space Agency on his first ever flight. Another first he accomplished, being the first Canadian to fly beyond low Earth orbit. In tow, Hansen has 4 moon pendants with him on his mission, representing his wife and 3 kids, who he says have been really supportive of him on this journey. Behind every good astronaut is a supportive family, right? Now that the Artemis II rocket has launched into space, the astronauts will be focusing on their mission objectives as they fly around the moon. So for more on this, former NASA astronaut Ron Guerin joins us now. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, what is your reaction to what we saw tonight?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm really excited. There's so many things that could stop a launch. You know, there's weather and obviously technical issues. I know that they were working some before the launch, so it was just really exciting, and I was very thankful to see it get off the ground and be going so well so far.
So now that we are, let me look at the NASA broadcast. Now that we are, okay, now I'm hitting refresh. This is what happens when you go on the fly. Okay, they stopped their countdown, but we are plenty of time. We're more than half an hour into the mission elapsed time. Are there any risks right now in this orbit or in that burn to the moon, or is the riskiest part behind them?
Well, a part that had large risk is behind them. There's risky parts ahead. The next big event is for them to do the perigee raising maneuver, which happens at about 49 minutes after launch. And basically, the perigee is the lowest part. It's the part of the orbit that's the closest to the Earth. And so they are approaching what's called apogee, the farthest part, because it's a very elliptical orbit. And so they need to raise the perigee to a safe altitude. And so they're going to be doing that soon. So that's the next big event.
When is their first nap?
That's a great question. There is a lot going on in this first day and into the second day, because this flight day 2 has the burn to the moon, where they fire the engines to propel them to the moon. There's what's called a proximity operation maneuver that they're going to do. They're going to separate from the upper stage and then basically maneuver around it to basically test drive the Orion spacecraft. We have 2 test pilots at the helm there, so that's good news. So they're really, really busy. I don't know when they're going to get time for sleep, but I think they're going to need to take some cat naps because they've got a very, very busy schedule ahead.
And so Peggy Whitson, who was part of the team that helped decide the Artemis crew, said, you know, they had thousands of applicants for each position. What does it take to get selected for something like this? And can you help us understand, maybe for somebody who doesn't understand the risk that you have to accept when you accept the position?
Yeah, I mean, being selected as an astronaut is a long shot, to put it lightly. There are thousands of applicants for every person that they pick, so they're very selective in that process. But each astronaut that gets selected and does missions, especially one like this that's so historic and is a first of its kind, we all understand the risks that we're signing up to. And everyone that I know that's in the business does it because they believe what they're doing has a tremendous benefit for all of humanity, and that makes the risk worth it. There's a risk-benefit trade-off that calculus is done, and it shows that you should do it.
I got to be quick with you, but if you could talk to the crew right now, what would you tell them?
Congratulations, you guys are doing great. I wish I was there with you.
Do you?
Of course, yeah, of course. It's going to be an amazing mission to go, beyond the moon and to see the Earth rise. I mean, we haven't seen that in 54 years. It changed how we see the world. It changed how we see ourselves, and we're going to do it again. And I think that was a hugely unifying moment in our history, and I hope we have another one here in 4 days.
Well, Ron Guerin, let's talk to you then. Thank you so much.
All the best.
How do you organize a dinner party in space? You plan it. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at what the Artemis crew will be eating for the next 9 days. You're watching The Daily Report.
Chilling with the queen, her name is Gail King.
Hey!
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Mornings on CBS and where else?
Paramount Plus.
See you at 7.
CBS Mornings.
I want a mug. Yeah, good mug. I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity and formality and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who was a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the takeout. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
One thing is very clear.
CBS Mornings is clearly fun.
Watching Rocky with Rocky.
Good morning, good vibes.
Gail came in singing for me today.
CBS Morning.
Weekdays at 7.
You there?
Did you surrender? Did Donald Trump run you out of town?
Marjorie Taylor Greene returns to 60 Minutes after falling out with President Trump.
Politics isn't a game. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? Politics is about policy. So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like healthcare? I'm a voracious consumer of information, and I'm impatient. I don't like to be spun. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now? To be moderator of Face the Nation means bringing the most powerful stakeholders to the table to become better informed.
With her sister's murder long unsolved,
The months went by, the years went by, and then the decades went by.
Well, that's when I became a warrior.
a woman turns to TikTok pleading for leads.
Somebody knows something, and somebody knows who killed Molly Bish.
Can you help? 48 Hours, now streaming on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to our special Artemis II coverage. So, no refrigerator, oven, or microwave on board. And with the need to balance nutritional needs with taste preferences, what will the crew eat over the next 9 days? Well, NASA says it all has to be shelf-stable, easy to prepare, and create a minimum amount of crumbs. So take a look. Astronauts get 3 meals a day, 2 flavored drinks, which can include coffee. It's all ready to eat, all prepared by either being rehydrated or heated on a compact briefcase-style warmer. So take a look. Green tea, smoothies, lemonade, those are some of the drink options. Tortillas, wheat bread, quiche, sausage. beef brisket, cookies. Those are some of the food selections, and there are 5 different hot sauces flying with the crew. As millions around the world watched the launch online, thousands gathered in locations around Florida and southern Georgia to try and get a glimpse of history for themselves as the Artemis II crew embarked on its 9-day mission around the far side of the moon. CBS News national weather correspondent Rob Marciano joins us from one of those launch watch locations. So you were about 8 or 9 miles away. I saw moms were pulling their kids out of school. We saw future Commander Jack. What were some of your takeaways?
Well, there were a lot of kids here. There were a lot of old kids here meeting adults. There were a lot of grandparents here that wish their grandkids were with them. It was amazing. Yeah, so we're on the western side of the lagoon, and just on the other side of the lagoon, about 7-8 miles away, is the launch pad. We saw everything happen from here. We felt it. We saw it, and we certainly heard it. But it was a myriad of emotions throughout the day because, you know, there was a chance that weather would get involved, and we had some showers come through, so people were scrambling that. Then we had that snafu with the mechanical that they solved, thankfully, and then it went off. And so it was all this communal energy. We're all rooting for the same thing, and people coming in from all over the country. I mean, you mentioned the girls I interviewed. They were from Colorado Springs. Their parents pulled them out of school to come here. They flew in last night, got to their hotel at 1 in the morning. Dad dragged them here to be here at 7 a.m. so they got a good spot. Exhausted, and if it didn't go off, they were going home back tomorrow because they had track meets in school to get back to. So that's such a blessing for them and so many people that made the commitment to travel here from all ends of the country. So that part of it certainly was amazing to see on this end. And now, sun setting. We're going to have a full moonrise on that side of Cape Cod. So, you know, the show doesn't end here. Show doesn't end here, Lindsay.
Don't you have to be on CBS Mornings?
All night long, riding the emotional wave.
Don't you have to be on TV again in like 12 hours?
Yeah, it's not till 7. Yeah, well, that's in 12 hours. Got plenty of time. No, we'll see how long we last. But the traffic is pretty bad. You're not going anywhere if you leave right now, regardless. So
your crew is like Rob.
I want to go. There's a lot of people here.
All right, Rob, thank you so much. All right, coming up in our next half hour, diving into the details, we'll talk everything from the high-tech science that's driving the mission to the basics of how the crew will go to the bathroom. You're watching the Daily Report on CBS News 24/7, the #1 free streaming news service in America.
Chilling with the queen. Her name is Gail King.
Hey!
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Mornings on CBS and where else?
Paramount Plus.
See you at 7.
CBS Mornings.
I want a mug. Yeah, good mug. I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity and formality and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who was a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the takeout. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
One thing is very clear.
CBS Mornings is clearly fun.
Watching Rocky with Rocky.
Morning, good vibes.
Gail came in singing for me today.
CBS Morning.
Weekdays at 7.
You there?
Did you surrender? Did Donald Trump run you out of town?
Marjorie Taylor Greene returns to 60 Minutes after falling out with President Trump.
Politics isn't a game. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? Politics is about policy. So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like healthcare. I'm a voracious consumer of information, and I'm impatient. I don't like to be spun. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now? To be moderator of Face the Nation means bringing the most powerful stakeholders to the table to become better informed.
With her sister's murder long unsolved,
The months went by, the years went by, and then the decades went by.
Well, that's when I became a warrior.
a woman turns to TikTok pleading for leads.
Somebody knows something, and somebody knows who killed Molly Bish.
Can you help? 48 Hours, now streaming on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a special Artemis II edition of the Daily Report. NASA has kicked off a historic lunar mission, sending astronauts farther from Earth than ever before. And for the first time, humans will lay their eyes on portions of the far side of the moon. 3 American astronauts and 1 Canadian have been preparing for years ahead of this mission, which will take them on a 252,000-mile journey around the moon and back. They are Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen. Artemis II is one step in a larger goal to one day get back to the moon and land. Assuming this mission is a success, NASA is hoping to schedule that landing for 2028. CBS News senior national correspondent Mark Strassman joins us now. So, I was watching it with you and Tony back here. Take us through it. What was it like for you?
Oh, it's amazing, Lindsay. I mean, honestly, we're 4 miles from Launch Pad 39B, and just the sight of it, the sound of it, the whole building started to rattle. I mean, it's just a man-made moment unlike any other, and this is the most powerful rocket that NASA has ever flown. So that just magnifies the experience, and any rocket launch is a thrill to watch. I'll tell you that NASA has to be both thrilled and relieved. Thrilled that it went so well, and relieved for the same reason. So now this crew is orbiting Earth. They have a very busy first 24 hours going through the various systems on their Orion capsule. Remember, the capsule has never been to space with people in it before. Of particular emphasis will be the life support system, which has never been to space before. So they're basically like getting the vehicle out before they set out on this 500,000-mile round trip to the moon. And so far, so good. Everything has worked exactly as planned. The last major milestone was the deployment and latching of the solar rays. That gives them power. Without that power, you're not going to the moon. So, Lindsay, so far, so good. I think NASA has to be just thrilled with how far it's gone so far. It's gone so far.
What do we need to see happen? What do they need to see happen before they give the green light to go to the moon? And that would be tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow, about 19 hours into launch, there'll be a meeting of, the NASA management teams will huddle up and they'll say, okay, we've put this capsule through its paces of, are we a go here? Does everything look good? Is everything working? Are there any red flags? And assuming that's the case, then 26 hours after launch, they'll have what's called the TLI, the translunar ejection, and they are going to go off to the moon. And that is going to be a very special moment and a point of no return. Once you do the TLI, you are committed. That is, if there's a problem on the way to the moon, there's no, you can't call AAA to bring you back to KSC. That's not the way it works. So it would take a couple of days to come back. That's a big difference than in low Earth orbit, where if you're, for instance, at the ISS, there was a problem, you could be home in a few hours if you had to be. Not here. So that is going to, they really have to make sure that everything is working perfectly before they let that crew head off to the moon.
How long does it take to get to the moon and then around the far side?
4 days. 4 days there, 4 days back. They are going to loop around the moon, curl around the moon. They'll spend a few hours behind it, taking pictures, observing it, and then come right back. This is a test flight, remember. This is a prelude to an eventual moon landing, which would be Artemis IV, scheduled for early in 2028. And if this goes well, there's going to be one more test flight in lower Earth orbit, and then the big push onto the moon. NASA still has a lot of things to work up. For instance, they don't even have a lunar lander yet, and they're hoping that that's SpaceX and Blue Origin, one of those companies, produces one. But right now, it's a day to celebrate because everything here has worked well.
Mark Strassman, I've got adrenaline here in New York. I can only imagine how you guys are feeling there. But enjoy the night. Thank you so much. Minutes before departing for the launch pad today, the crew completed one final task, a game of cards. This is a pre-flight tradition. It's meant to ward off bad luck. After suiting up, the crew played a quick game. I think it was highest card wins with the NASA's chief astronaut, Scott Tingle. Tradition has it the crew keeps playing until the chief loses a round so he can take the bad luck and they can leave it on a positive note before the launch. So what does it take to be selected to eventually play cards in those card games? Let's talk to someone with firsthand experience. Retired NASA astronaut and U.S. Navy SEAL Chris Cassidy joins us now. Chris flew on 3 space missions, accumulating a total of 378 days in space and 10 spacewalks. Just wow. You know these members of Artemis II personally. What did you say to them?
So great to be with you, by the way. What an exciting time for our nation, but humanity. It's just so fun to watch. People will remember this day forever. You know, thinking to the personal connection, 4 of my friends just left the planet, and thinking back to those moments when you're watching your friends get on a rocket. It's much harder to put your friends on a rocket than it is to climb in it yourself. And so for the chief, for Scott Tingle, be playing those card games, he wants to take that bad luck with him with that card game. Selecting a crew is never easy. You try to fit together right personalities, right skill sets, what the mission is, what the international composition would be. In this case, Jeremy Hansen, an unbelievably talented guy who's waited 17 years for this mission, good friend of mine. So I'm just so excited for NASA, for those people, and for all of us here on Earth.
Well said, sir. And I want to pick up on what Mark and I were talking about with that slingshot maneuver toward the middle to end of the mission around the moon. The lunar gravitational pull. Can you help us understand how that works? And does that essentially mean that they don't need any power to come home?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the beauty of the free return trajectory on a test mission. Essentially, you're firing the rocket on the TLI burn that was described. It will give you enough energy to leave Earth orbit, but also put you on a trajectory to come home. In theory, they don't have to fire their engine any longer and come back to Earth. Now, truthfully, there'll be some correction burns and some maneuvers along the way and some test activities. But by and large, the energy required to get back to the moon get back to Earth's surface safely is right at that TLI burn. Really, really adding to the factors of safety on a mission like this.
What advice would you give to your colleagues at this juncture?
Savor every moment. I mean, these are experienced folks. They know what it's all about, but you never know when it's your last space flight, and they're seeing some of the views that only a handful of people alive on Earth today have seen. And so their eyeballs, their pictures, their descriptions, their feelings are going to be what we all hang on. I texted Reed Wiseman a couple days ago and said, "Good luck, my friend, Godspeed." The world is watching with awe and excitement, and that's exactly how I feel.
Do you hope this inspires the next generation?
Oh, absolutely. There's some young elementary school kid out there that's going to be, he or she's going to be the first one to walk on Mars. And they'll have watched this today and be able to describe when they're walking on Mars, their feelings when they saw Reed and Victor and Christina and Jeremy leave the planet.
Chris Cassidy, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Before Sally Ride became the first American woman in space in 1983, NASA engineers unfamiliar with menstruation suggested packing her 100 tampons for a 7-day mission. Other members of the agency eventually deemed the amount excessive and reduced the amount of menstrual products she took, with the story later becoming a funny anecdote. Today, the science and tech behind using the restroom in space continues to evolve. CBS News senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve has a special look at the out-of-this-world facilities available to the crew.
I'm with Paul Bain. He oversees life support and crew systems on board the capsule. Well, I think one of the things everybody's wondering is, how does the bathroom work?
So the toilet in Orion is located in this bay here underneath the side hatch. And essentially, it works very similar principle to the shuttle toilet that we used to have on that vehicle. It works by a vacuum, pulls a a suction against the crew member for urination and fecal matter, and essentially that is how we remove the waste from the crew.
Where does the waste go?
So we have a tank that will collect the urine, and we store that inside the vehicle for a little while, and then we vent it overboard. And then the fecal matter is actually collected in a can, and then they compress that down, put a cap on it. It has filters, so it doesn't smell, and we basically will end up bringing all that home with us.
Do they rock, paper, scissors for whose job that is?
I think they all they all take care of it because they have to. You know, you're all in it together.
What happens if the toilet stops working?
So we've actually talked about that a lot.
Because that would seem like a major problem.
It'd be an upsetting day, yes. And so we actually have gone through some scenarios on what do we do for that. So we created a special bag that the crew members can use to urinate into, and it allows it to drain the urine from the crew member, and then we can vent that bag overboard. The fecal matter, same principle, and you just go into the bag and collapse it up and put it into the can again.
Well, thank you. Back to you.
Chris Van Cleave, thank you. And now you know. Don't forget the pump. It can be really hard to work out without gravity, but without it, zero G can contribute to bone density and muscle mass loss. So astronauts have to exercise 30 minutes a day using this flywheel device. It's the size of an extra large shoebox. It functions like a rowing machine, so they can row, do curls, deadlifts, and squats, and calf raises. The astronauts will work, exercise, and eat, but how will they sleep? Coming up, our Chris Van Cleave takes us inside a simulator to find out. You're watching The Daily Report.
Chilling with the queen, her name is Gail King.
Hey!
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Mornings on CBS and where else? Paramount Plus. See you at 7.
CBS Mornings.
I want a mug. Yeah, good mug.
I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity and formality and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who was a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the takeout. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
One thing is very clear.
CBS Mornings is clearly fun.
Watching Rocky with Rocky.
Good morning, good vibes.
Gail came in singing for me today.
CBS Morning.
Weekdays at 7.
You there?
Did you surrender? Did Donald Trump run you out of town?
Marjorie Taylor Greene returns to 60 Minutes after falling out with President Trump.
Politics isn't a game. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? Politics is about policy. So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like healthcare. I'm a voracious consumer of information, and I'm impatient. I don't like to be spun. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now? To be moderator of Face the Nation means bringing the most powerful stakeholders to the table to become better informed.
With her sister's murder long unsolved,
The months went by, the years went by, and then the decades went by.
Well, that's when I became a warrior.
a woman turns to TikTok pleading for leads.
Somebody knows something, and somebody knows who killed Molly Bish.
Can you help? 48 Hours, now streaming on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Welcome back to our special Artemis II coverage. Orion will carry a host of mementos on board, including a 1-inch by 1-inch swatch of muslin fabric from the original Wright flyer the Wright brothers used to make the first powered flight in 1903. Also, a 13 by 8-inch American flag, which flew with the first shuttle mission, among others. And a copy of a photo from the Ranger 7 mission, the first U.S. mission to make contact with the lunar surface. There will also be seeds on board, soil from trees planted with Artemis I seeds, and an SD card, including the millions of names of those who participated in the Send Your Name to Space campaign. Members of the crew will be the first people to sleep inside the Orion spacecraft. So for more on how they will do this, think hanging sleeping bags. Let's go to Chris Van Cleve, who got a special look.
I'm here with Paul Boehm. He oversees life support and crew systems. Let's talk about sleeping. How does that work?
Well, it's a pretty individual thing for the crew members of where they want to sleep in Orion. As you can tell, there's not a lot of space.
I don't see fold-down beds, so how's it work?
There's no bunk beds, nothing fold down like a train or anything. So the way we do it is we have sleeping bags, essentially, that the crew uses. And they will, all 4 crew members have one of their own, and they will essentially mount them anywhere in the cabin that they feel comfortable with. I think the main attempt right now is the 2 crew members, pilot and commander, are going to probably be in the seats here, another crew member along this wall, and then in 0G, you get to use up and down as well. And so they get to tie these sleeping bags off any way they possibly can.
They tie it off wherever
they need to, and then you get into it. It's got a space for your head to stick out. It's got actually a little band that you can put over your forehead to kind of hold you down if you need to. And then really the other challenge is getting your arms, because in microgravity, your arms tend to want to float out like that. So we keep them inside. Or
have the astronauts already called dibs on a place to sleep?
I think most of them have, yeah. I can't tell you exactly who, because they do change them up sometimes. But like I mentioned, 2 of them probably here, 1 here, and 1 kind of hanging up and down in the tunnel.
How much time is allotted for sleeping on this mission?
So the crew gets a period before sleep, which we call pre-sleep, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then they get a full 8 hours of sleep. And then about the same period after sleep, and that's basically to get yourself woken up, take care of yourself in the morning, just like everybody does before you go to work. And so, but they get a full 8 hours of sleep is what they're scheduled for.
Is there any trick to sleeping in zero gravity?
There is, from a standpoint of being able to control the crew member and not have them floating around, which is why we have the sleeping bags. It provides that capability to keep them comfortable with a blanket type feeling, and then also keep you from moving around, because that way you don't have to stick bungees on yourself to keep you controlled from moving around. And the crew kind of sticks themselves in locations so that they can possibly go to the toilet at night as well.
You don't want to play sleeping bumper cars.
Exactly. You got it.
CBS News senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve joins us now from Johnson Space Center in Houston. I told you we were going to run the packages. What else have we had? What else did you learn that you found the most interesting?
Well, I thought the need to secure yourself so you didn't float around and bump into each other while sleeping was so obvious. I didn't think about it until he said it. But that sort of sleeping bumper car sensation would be problematic. I think just the idea that you're living and working in a space that's about the size of 2 minivans for 4 adults to conduct all the work, all the missions they're going to do, to take the photos they need to take, to try all of these things out, to exercise all of that stuff in such a tight space. I think it's just mind-boggling when you're sitting in there and there's not a lot of room to move around.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
when you think 2 minivans, it sounds kind of roomy, but when I'm looking at you guys look really cramped in there. I can't imagine spending 9 days there.
Yeah, you would lose your mind, maybe. But it's definitely challenging. I think just how you make that work and how careful you have to be to think out that workspace and living space. Yeah. It really is remarkable to me.
Okay, so we talked about the toilet, but is there like a curtain? I'm sorry that I'm like obsessed with this, but they're like all,
There is a curtain.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, is there like a curtain
so
for the boys and a curtain for the girl?
There's a curtain. I think it's a unisex curtain that's deployed for whoever is using the toilet.
You didn't get to taste any of the food, did you? Like the mango smoothie?
I did not.
But the technology is incredible. That everything
we got
they
9
eat,
days to work on that.
you either add water or you heat it on this like shoebox warmer.
Yeah, but I mean, that goes to just how much thought has to go into every single thing that goes in there. The gym is the size of a shoebox. You know, the kitchen is, you know, about the size of my research binder, if that. And that's in like and then there's a panel in the floor where you pull up, and that's where you get the water. Everything has to have a place and a purpose, and every centimeter counts because it's so small.
Chris Van Cleve, thank you so much for the inside look that you gave us. We really appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Still to come, we're going to recap this history-making day aboard Artemis II, and it's only just beginning for the crew. We'll look forward to what lies ahead and NASA's goal of eventually setting foot back on the moon. You're watching The Daily Report.
Chilling with the queen, her name is Gail King.
Hey!
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Mornings on CBS and where else? Paramount Plus. See you at 7.
CBS Mornings.
I want a mug. Yeah, good mug.
I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity and formality and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who was a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the takeout. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
One thing is very clear.
CBS Mornings is clearly fun.
Watching Rocky with Rocky.
Morning, good vibes.
Gail came in singing for me today.
CBS Morning.
Weekdays at 7.
You there?
Did you surrender? Did Donald Trump run you out of town?
Marjorie Taylor Greene returns to 60 Minutes after falling out with President Trump.
Politics isn't a game. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? Politics is about policy. So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like healthcare. I'm a voracious consumer of information, and I'm impatient. I don't like to be spun. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now? To be moderator of Face the Nation means bringing the most powerful stakeholders to the table to become better informed.
With her sister's murder long unsolved,
The months went by, the years went by, and then the decades went by.
Well, that's when I became a warrior.
a woman turns to TikTok pleading for leads.
Somebody knows something, and somebody knows who killed Molly Bish.
Can you help? 48 Hours, now streaming on CBS and Paramount Plus.
And here they are, NASA's Artemis II crew.
So why are we going back? Why now? Well, because the first time the moon was considered the outer limits, if you will, of achievable space travel. Now, we believe Mars is attainable.
It's so crowded now, you can barely move.
There's a situation going on right now. NASA is a no-go for launch while it investigates an issue with something called the Flight Termination System.
That is essentially a safety system, a self-destruct system. Technicians, as you say, are on the pad now working on the issue.
It has been resolved. Now go for launch.
And the arm is retracting there as you speak.
That's good news.
That's good news,
that's
right?
Good stuff.
Okay.
4 brave explorers ready to ride the most powerful rocket. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Let's bring in Derek Pitts back for more on this historic launch, chief astronomer at the Franklin Institute. Derek, there are few things as unifying as watching a space launch as a country, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Bring this into perspective for us. I know that this is domestic, it's national. We've got 3 Americans on board. We've got 1 Canadian on board. And we also, there's so much at stake in terms of competition with China as well. Can you help us understand the magnitude of this moment?
Yeah, I'm very glad that you bring it up that way, because indeed there is this whole other side to this. And the whole other side is that it is really critical that the United States, flexes its technological capability in this manner by making the steps to get us back to the moon before China gets to the moon. And in a sense, this is like another space race with the Soviet Union that was the driver for the Apollo program in the late 60s and early 70s. And we really do have to carefully think about that, because what it means is that if we can get back to the moon and establish research stations and do all of those things that we really want to do to expand our presence, it again shows the rest of the world the technological superiority of the United States. It's not just that we want to show that we have better computers or we have better engineers or anything like that. It also sends a message about our sovereign security. And that's an important thing. If another country thinks that their technology is better than ours, then that sends a message that we probably don't want to send. So while it's great that we want to go out and do the exploration, and we want this for the glory of America, the other thing is we have to think about our place in the world as a world leader and as a leader in space.
We have less than a minute left. What are your final thoughts and what this mission means for the future?
I think this is the way in which NASA reignites the excitement that we all felt, all of us here on Earth felt, when astronauts went to the moon for the first time. Going back to the moon in this second instance, if we can really keep the momentum going, that means we can establish a semi-permanent presence on the moon, research bases, and begin to use the moon as the training place for us to eventually go on to Mars. Big inspiration for kids in the STEM fields.
Well, Derek Pitts, we really appreciate all of your expertise. Thank you so much for joining. And our coverage on the historic Artemis II launch continues after a short break, including an update from NASA. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Reiser. This has been a special edition of the Daily Report on CBS News 24/7.
Chilling with the queen, her name is Gail King.
Hey!
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning.
CBS Morning. CBS Morning. CBS Morning.
CBS Mornings on CBS and where else? Paramount Plus. See you at 7.
CBS Mornings.
I want a mug. Yeah, good mug.
It was almost like being face to face with the devil.
48 hours reports. I fought and fought.
911, what is your emergency?
She disappeared off the face of the earth. Stream 48 hours, 24/7.
I'm Major Garrett in Washington, inviting you to the takeout. Politics, policy, people, and pop culture served up weeknights. What's on the menu? Plenty. The day's happenings with curiosity, informality, and humor. It's serious discussion, but we do not take ourselves too seriously. Who is a better speaker, Mike Johnson or you? Oh, come on. Join me on the takeout. Streaming right here on CBS News 24/7.
Money Watch is your no-nonsense guide to taking control of your finances, where I offer practical, real-world advice with no jargon and no judgment. I'm Jill Schlesinger. Listen to Money Watch wherever you get your podcasts.
Go to the ends of the earth.
We'll hit the heights.
A great adventure together.
And reach for the stars.
Star power. I like it.
So cool.
The
But wait, there's more.
Experience thought-provoking,
Something that's undeniable.
with mindfulness, innovative,
Magical. It's like being a child.
and truly original reporting.
God, you do your research. I tell a good story.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
Why America's last best place is at risk.
If the public land that you use were sold off, could you run your business?
A stalker sends menacing messages to a young mother before she's murdered.
They all just kind of said, I can't believe this happened. He did it.
The stalker did it.
There's a killer out there, and we're gonna go after him.
But the investigation reveals a sinister setup.
I think his head is spinning, thinking about what else are they gonna find.
48 Hours, now streaming on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Politics isn't a game. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? Politics is about policy. So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like healthcare. I'm a voracious consumer of information, and I'm impatient. I don't like to be spun. Do you know if there are active terror cells in the United States right now? To be moderator of Face the Nation means bringing the most powerful stakeholders to the table to become better informed.
CBS News. Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan, Sunday on CBS. War with Iran. Stay with CBS News for continuing coverage on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome in to CBS News 24/7 Prime Time. It's 8 o'clock in the East, 5 o'clock in the West. I'm Juliette Goodrich. A historic moment in space exploration. Right now, 4 astronauts are taking part in an incredible journey around the moon that's farther than anyone has ever traveled before. Any moment now, NASA leaders will give an update on the launch. Now, here's the moment the Artemis II rocket blasted off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Mission elapsed time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon.
Have you the same.
On the ground, 1,300 people packed a sold-out watch party at the Space Center in Houston to watch the historic lunar mission, while others watched the launch from the Columbia Memorial Space Center in Downey, California.
And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins. Let's go!
A few minutes into the flight, 2 side boosters peeled away and the core stage fell away from the Orion spacecraft, and the astronauts passed the edge of space.
Confirmed separation. Main engines throttling up. Guidance converged.
Guidance converged. Performance nominal. Upper stage RCS ready.
78 miles downrange. Now passing 5,000 miles per hour. 3 minutes 50 seconds into the flight of Artemis II, Wiseman, Glover, Cook, and Hansen crossed the boundary to space with good comm checks.
Earlier, the 3-man, 1-woman crew met with family and friends before loading into the transport van to the launch pad.
I love the energy of this crowd. Let's go. And we're trying to give them some privacy so that they can have their conversations with their family members. Christina there, she has her husband. Victor has 4 daughters and his wife, they're there. Reed, his 2 daughters are there. And then Jeremy, his wife, 2 daughters and a son. Hearing Victor saying, love you guys. Saying that to some of his crew members there. You heard Reed there saying thank you guys as the crowd picks up again with their applause, and the 4 of them step into their Astrovan.
And again, here's who's on board. Mission Commander Reed Wiseman. He's a single dad who first went to space in 2014. The pilot is U.S. Navy Captain Victor Glover. He is the first black astronaut to go on a lunar mission. Mission specialist Christina Cook is the first woman to go around the moon. And then rounding out the crew is mission specialist Jeremy Hansen, the first Canadian in deep space. So let's bring in CBS News senior national correspondent Mark Strassman, who is live at the Kennedy Space Center. And Mark, you got to see all of this firsthand. So what was it like?
Well, I'm standing about 4 miles from Launch Pad 39B. You really can't get much closer. And it was just so spectacular. I mean, I always think that rocket launches are one of the great man-made thrills. But when the rocket is this powerful, the most powerful rocket NASA's ever flown, it was just overwhelming. I mean, you see this controlled explosion, you wait 4 or 5 seconds, this wall of sound comes over you, and then this building that I'm standing on the roof of, the building started to rattle. I mean, it's a true sensory overload, and I just got to believe that for tens of thousands of people who gathered here, even if they were farther away, this is a moment they will always remember.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see it and you could feel it, literally. So what is the crew doing in the next 24 hours before they get the go-ahead to go around the moon?
Well, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of the Orion capsule. They're going to be testing the systems of the capsule. This is the first time the Orion has ever been to space with people aboard. And they need to test in particular the life support system. If they are going to go to the moon, they need to know that everything on the capsule works. And so for 24 hours, they'll be checking the life support system. They're going to be checking their deep space comms. They're going to make sure that everything is ready for the push off to the moon. Because once they leave Earth's orbit, it would take them days to come back. So if something went wrong, that would be a problem. So they want to make sure that basically the capsule is in ship shape before they head out and take the real major risk, which is to push off into deep space.
Yeah, sure. So Mark, can you tell us about the mission and how long the crew may be in space?
Yep, about 9 to 10 days. It's 4 days up around the circle the moon, then 4 days back. It's a test flight. They want to make sure, again, that everything is in working order. NASA has one more test flight, and this one will be in low Earth orbit. That's Artemis II. And then Artemis IV would be an actual moon landing. That NASA has scheduled for early 2028. So it's a phased approach, this NASA's return to the moon. And if it all goes as well as it did today, NASA is in great shape.
That's wonderful to hear. Mark Strassman. Mark, thank you so much. All right, now let's bring in former NASA astronaut Clayton Anderson. So, Clayton, you have been on 2 space missions. Good to see you. Can you give us a sense of what the astronauts are feeling as they orbit the Earth right now?
Well, first tell Mark that if he's on top of the rocket, it shakes a lot worse than the building did. But what they're doing now is, they've had a really long day. So I haven't seen their timeline, but I'm guessing that they're doing some things, but getting ready to wind down a little bit. One of the first things they have to do is get into an elliptical orbit that's a period that takes 24 hours to go around the Earth. And that will give them time, as Mark said, to do the testing that they need to do so desperately before they make that burn to go toward the moon. So, they're now getting used to zero-G. 3 of the 4 have been there before. Jeremy from Canada, Jeremy Hansen, he's probably enjoying his first taste of microgravity. And I imagine they'll have a meal somewhere in there and then just some quiet time to relax. It's really hard to go to sleep after you've had such an invigorating day.
Absolutely. The adrenaline is pumping. So the mission commander called this a test flight. So what will the crew be testing while on board? And is there a chance that they won't actually go all the way to the moon?
Well, let me answer the second part first. I think if they make that burn, they're going to go to the moon and they have a free return trajectory. So if nothing happens after that burn and it's successful, they will just go behind the moon, they'll make a figure 8 and they'll come back to Earth. So during this time of the next 3 days or whatever it is after the burn happens. They're going to be testing everything they can test. Is the oxygen system flowing? Is carbon dioxide being removed appropriately? Does the toilet work? How about our food preparation system? Can we heat our food? Can we eat our food? How does the trash work? How's the exercise device that they designed just for this mission or these missions? How does that work? They want to know everything, and they want to wring it out as much as they can, because this is a test such that when they go back to Earth, everybody's going to be working on fixing anything that went wrong, such that when Artemis 3 happens and then Artemis 4, we have a much better confidence level, a higher confidence level that things are going to work for us.
Certainly a checklist to settle in. So there is a lot of history being made on this mission. Certainly it's traveling farther than the Apollo mission, and the crew has the first black astronaut and female astronaut to go on lunar missions. A lot of milestones. So your thoughts on these historic firsts for the space program?
Well, I think it's good. You know, the focus in the world today is on diversity, inclusion, and those things, and that's all good. But I think kids should just look and say, hey, I can do this. It doesn't matter who I am, where I'm from, what I've done. I mean, holy cow, I'm a small town kid from Nebraska who got to spend 167 days in space. And that's what we want. We want this to be inspiring for every young person on the planet, that they can do great things. And hey, kids in America, man, look what we do here. It's pretty awesome.
As you watch the countdown, what was going through your mind? How are you feeling? You've been through this before, but it still must be exciting.
It was. I wanted to be on top of that rocket with them. I'm very envious of their opportunity today. I prayed. I worry that everything goes safely, and it needs to go safely. This is a dangerous business we're in. And no matter what you see on TV, and no matter how easy NASA makes it look, it is dangerous and it is difficult. And those are the things that we have to keep in mind, that these crew members accepted the risk to go on this mission, to understand it's a test mission, but they're building for the future. And they've said it many times themselves that they're there only to start the ball rolling, and they want the rest of America and the future people of America and the world to carry on the torch. So it's pretty exciting stuff, man. I'm pumped, and I wish I was there.
Oh, Clayton Anderson, thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the other big story we're following right now, President Trump is delivering a primetime address to update the nation on the war with Iran tonight. So let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe to talk more about this. Ed, thank you so much for joining us. All right, first things first, what do we expect the president to say about the war?
Well, we are expecting to get some kind of operational update, the White House says, on the progress of Operation Epic Fury. You could expect the president, we're told, to reiterate that he anticipates at least 2 to 3 more weeks of military operations, which would go beyond his initial expectation that this was going to be a 4 to 5 week military operation. And he's likely to reiterate what he has seen as the major objectives of this military operation: to destroy Iran's deadly ballistic missiles and production facilities, to destroy their navy, to ensure that terrorist proxies that Iran has helped stabilize for several decades in that region, like Hezbollah or others down in Yemen, can no longer operate, and that network is in essence destabilized, and then guarantee that Iran is never able to obtain or develop a nuclear weapon. Now, you'll recall that was the intent of the strikes on 3 different sites in Iran last summer, and there have been questions about whether or not that didn't necessarily finish off the job, and there's been skepticism as to why that is such a key objective of this one, if the president insisted back then that it had been completely destroyed. But we'll see to what extent he gets into those details. We also expect him to be somewhat critical, yet again, of NATO allies who, so far at least, have not committed to helping try to secure and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, is such a key oil choke point for the whole world.
Ed, what's behind the timing of the president's address tonight? Why tonight?
Yeah, you'd think on a night when Americans are blasting 4 astronauts into space and so many other things going on, and of course also it being April Fool's Day, why would you want to do it tonight? The issue is politics, Jules, and they're suffering for it at the White House these days. The polling is getting increasingly poor for the president on the question of overall approval and perhaps most critically in a midterm election year, his handling of the economy. Fresh surveys out this morning suggest it's hovering at about 30% overall. That is low for him, the lowest of his presidency, depending on the surveys. But all signs continue to be trending downward when it comes to public support for him overall, for his stewardship of the economy, and for American support and understanding of this war. Our own polling at CBS has repeatedly shown a majority of the country doesn't believe he has thoroughly, clearly explained why it is the United States needed to get involved with this military operation in Iran, just as a majority said late last year they didn't understand the justification for going into Venezuela to get Nicolas Maduro. So when you take those two and the sustained criticism and skepticism and lack of understanding of why they're being done, the White House tonight trying to reset that, re-explain itself, or perhaps explain itself better for the first time 5 weeks into this conflict.
So, Ed, let's dive into the polling. We have a CBS News poll on what Americans are thinking about gas prices, for example, and the economy. So in this particular poll, 67% of respondents said they don't think Americans ought to be willing to pay more for gas during the conflict with Iran. And then when it comes to President Trump's overall approval rating, CBS polling, as you were saying, over 60% of respondents disapprove of how the president is handling the economy and in the inflation. So it seems the president has some convincing to do tonight, correct?
Absolutely. And on that question of gas prices, I'll be curious to see if his discussion of that, if there is discussion, mirrors what he said when he was asked on Tuesday by a reporter about these rising gas prices. Remember, they've now hit record highs for the first time since 2022, now averaging over $4 a gallon for a gallon of regular. He immediately snapped back and said, well, it'll all come down when this war is over. And also, if the trade-off is that you are now living in a world where Iran doesn't have an ability to build a nuclear weapon, isn't that worth it? This polling would suggest Americans don't think it is, and that they shouldn't have to be shouldering the price increase for a war that the president, in their view, started without explaining himself.
Another thing to talk about, birthright citizenship. So today, President Trump became the first sitting U.S. president to attend oral arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court. The case revolving around his push to end birthright citizenship. So this would actually be the first major immigration case decided by the Supreme Court since Trump started his second term. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not so much thoughts, it's just facts. Look, this was an executive order that he signed on the first day back into office. It would essentially lead to hundreds of thousands of people born in this country every year not obtaining that right that has been constituted